What's going on, Paisanos? V here, and today we have my match against a Dogmatika variant. I believe this is like the Dogmatika Invoked variant, and basically what you're gonna see is this deck not only grind with that variant, but also try to take advantage. Because once again, we're a lot more aggressive of a Shaddoll build. The Dogmatika variant, I feel like is more, if you want to lean more control. This deck's more or less the board breaker variant, the variant that can grind, but is really good. Like our variant, Shaddoll Invoked, is really good at breaking boards. So opponent's gonna start off with just basically, basically trying to, need the servant, send the app cologne, and we're gonna go ahead and activate literally one hand trap and just shut this entire turn down. Which is Shaddoll Lockboard, and this is something that I think a lot of people. They don't really understand when I say I don't like Shaddoll Lockboard just ends that turn against this variant. Due to the fact that Shaddoll Invoked Dogmatika is trying to do so much, trying to add so much, trying to finagle so much. What we're trying to do is just to shut them down for the turn, just so we can go ahead and break their board. So you can see right there, our opponent's just gonna set some cards and it's pass turn, which is great for us. That's what we want. We are really happy with this kind of play. Just stopping a lot of cards our opponent's trying to do. I know a lot of people, when they watch this series, they go, V, would you be able to do another deck? Can you try a different deck in this series? And eventually I will have, and I'm working on a couple of decks right now. Eventually I'm going to find a deck that I really like as well. You got to realize, to me, Shaddoll Invoked is the best deck in the format. Also, to me, it's my favorite deck in the game. Shaddoll's in general my favorite deck in the game. So I got to find another deck that I have that kind of like excitement and love with. So I'm gonna activate Magical Meltdown. I added the wrong card. You'll see me fix that in a second. I added Invocation. My brain was already on, and that's the thing. When I play, my brain goes on the next turn. I already had Invocation in hand anyway, but I added Invocation. So I have an Alistair in hand, and I know his face sounds more like it's gonna be Ecclesia because he added it when the Dear Servant. So I already know what his. I should know what that monster is. It could be any other monster. It could be maybe has an Alistair, maybe. But I'm going to really be banking on it being Ecclesia. So Ecclesia has 1500 attack. So all I need to do in this situation is to send my Alistair face down. Because if he swings to Ecclesia, he's going to take damage. It's forced him to go in the Fleur-de-Lis. But do you really want to go in the Fleur-de-Lis to get rid of an Alistair? So it puts us in a really, 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 really good position. If you notice, look at my positioning. And this is something I think more players need to start doing. Analyzing positioning on spell and traps on the board. So I see that he has some stuff to his right side. Okay. His spell and trap zones, because I'm left-handed, it's a little bit confusing, but his spell and trap zone, that makes it better, actually. His spell and trap zone is on his 1 and 2, so I immediately just center out my spell and trap zone. So I think he held the Ecclesia here, which, okay, sure, it's fine. Or maybe he has one set, I don't know, but he's going to go ahead and add that Fleur-de-Lis. So this puts in such a good position, because this is what we want. We want our opponent to be worried or to overextend. He did have another Ecclesia face down, by the way. We want our opponent to be worried. We want our opponent to extend, and we want to take advantage of as much place as possible to gain as much advantage and not give up as much card value. Because in a Dogmatika variant like this, Dogmatika Shaddoll variant versus our variant, the number one thing that we have to worry about constantly is us losing advantage. Because when we lose advantage against his deck, the Dogmatika Shadolls, we're kind of in a really bad spot. So he's going to attack with a 1500 attack Ecclesia up into my Alistair. Alistair's going to flip and get effect, obviously. If anyone doesn't know, when you flip Alistair over, besides the fact that it has an 1800 butt, you're going to be able to go ahead and get that value of adding Invocation to your hand, which is insane. Another thing I like as well is I also have a... Not that it matters a lot right now, but it's a cool thing to note. Me and my opponent, actually, we both have a Shaddoll Lockboard in Graveyard, which is a win target, which means we can access... our Raging, which is pretty amazing. And our opponent has 2 face-on cards. We have 2 face-on cards. Today, I'm testing out... Well, by the time you're watching, this will be yesterday, but I'm testing out a new card. You'll see it activated in a second in this build. And this new card I'm testing out just absolutely worked amazingly. So our opponent's we're just gonna cut our deck, and then we're gonna draw for our turn. Now, our opponent has a Fleur-de-Lis in hand. We 100% know that. We don't know his face on cards. There's one other card here we don't know, but we know 100% he has a Fleur-de-Lis in hand. So that's at least good. So we're going to go ahead and activate that Magical Meltdown. And we're going to get another Alistair to our hand. which is puts us in a great position. I mean, we are hella invoked right now. We are not hella Shaddolls, which something an engine we definitely need to start accessing. But when you access one engine and invoke Shaddolls, it always feels like there's just more you can do had you had one card. You know.
So this is the zones you're traps are in, right?
So one thing, I'm verifying zones.
Yeah, they're on my right hand side.
Your
So,
right hand side. So this.
yeah.
So I'm verifying spell and trap zones.
Correct.
And that's very important. Once again, you don't want to see like your opponent activate an imperm and just get wrecked on it. I'm activating Public Knowledge on my Alistair, which is another big deal. This card is literally just a pot of greed. I had some people ask me about using Public Knowledge using Wonder Wand. The problem with Wonder Wand is I have to equip it to the monster and then activate the send of the monster to the graveyard. It really doesn't give that much more attack than anything, to be honest with you. Also, like, nowadays, like, you just activate a target a monster, your opponent's just gonna just get you wrecked on it. So it really doesn't matter as much. That's why I just don't care about it as much. I'm gonna activate Invocation right here. And double checking what's in our opponent's graveyard. He does have a fusion monster on graveyard, which is actually not bad because we could go into App Cologne, and I think I'm pretty much going to do that. I'm not App Cologne, I'm sorry, Ogordes. I get rid of his App Cologne, go to Ogordes. And this is great because on Ogordes summon effect, we're gonna be able to get rid of one of his Ecclesias. Ogordes is right now 2k, but if next turn he starts bringing out a special monster, especially like a Fleur de Lis, we're gonna be in a really good spot because the minute he brings it out, we're just gonna blow it up. Well, attempt to blow it up. Nevertheless, we're gonna do things. Also, another great thing is now he knows we have Alistair on hand, so that's gonna put him back now because now we could pump our Ogordes from our hand as well.
Chain Fleur de Lis, is that okay? Or activate Fleur de Lis effect in hand?
So there he goes, bringing out the Fleur de Lis in hand. Now, this is another cool thing about like invoke shows, which I love so much. You don't know necessarily how many Astros I have in my hand. You have zero idea about that. In fact, anyone playing against you, you already know I got between 1 to 3 Alistairs, and that's a fact. You know, if I access only my invoked engine, there's a good chance I have multiple Alistairs in my hand. If I have multiple Alistairs in my hand, that means our opponent does not know what we like. They're gonna swing and not know what they're in for. So that puts us in a really, really good position. So I decided to go and make a light target right here. So I'm going to go put Artemis up here. And the reason why I'm doing this as well is because even though, like, we could use lights from his graveyard, it's just... One second. Yeah. Even though we can use lights from our opponent's graveyard, it's just great to have extra value on board. And that's the way I'm seeing it. But in this instance, I'm going to go ahead and activate Invocation and get rid of an Alistair and Shaddoll Beast. Get my Shaddoll engine online. We need to get our Shaddoll engine online as fast as possible and as efficiently as possible. Once again, opponent does not. We just burned through, I believe, 2 Alistairs. I think we have the 3rd Alistair. So opponent doesn't really necessarily know what we have, like as far as like what's on our board state right now. And we also get to add a card on hand. We get to get rid of that Shaddoll Beast in our hand and make it to a card that could potentially get us there. So we don't really have our Shaddoll engine fully online. We just have a wind on board. We definitely need to send like a Shaddoll Spell and Trap to really start pumping it up. But I mean, it's not bad. It's not a bad start. We're putting our opponent down. We're basically telling our opponent, hey, listen, you're going to have to activate a bunch of cards in order to get rid of a window, which we know our opponent isn't ready to fully get rid of. By the way, my face down card is the trap card I'm testing out right now. And I feel like this trap card, I'm probably going to keep it in the deck. I'm still figuring out if I want to play 2 or 3. And you'll see in a second and how crucial this trap card is and how amazing it is for this game. Oh, another cool thing about getting rid of obviously getting rid of your opponent's Shaddoll card, the App Cologne. For us, if our opponent got let's say activated like Shaddoll Fusion, I'm sorry, Invocation, and got rid of like a App Cologne on graveyard, it really doesn't matter. Obviously, later on in the game state, you would really want to use it for Goys to get pumped, but for the most part, you don't care about it. You're like, all right, cool, I lose it. That's how the game, whatever. For our opponent, if our opponent has a face down Shaddoll Schism, by us activating Invocation and getting rid of their App Cologne, we now take them away from Shaddoll Schism. And I think that's something that's really, really, really important in this matchup. Like, us losing stuff in our graveyard isn't as big of a deal as our opponent losing value in the graveyard. Because now our opponent is going to have to find a way to get another Shaddoll monster from the extract into that graveyard in order to activate and proc that Shaddoll Fusion. They have to do that. Whereas for us, it is not as big of a deal for us. So we're just verifying monster effects. We're verifying basically what's all the and this is another good thing I like. When my opponent asks me, hey, let me double check, what does this do? And I don't mind going over my opponent and saying vice versa. I just want to make sure we're both on the same page as far as activating effects. Our opponent's gonna go ahead and activate a Forbidden Droplet, which is a card I think is starting to see more play, and I think moving forward, definitely as the format slows down more, we'll see cards like Forbidden Droplet see even more play. So our opponent's gonna get rid of his Shaddoll Schism, and once again, it's kind of dead to him unless they have the Nidalee Servant, so it's whatever. But and he's gonna stop one monster, but I think he goes back and tries to fix this.
Alright, and then I'll normal summon Ariel.
So I'm just going over the options. We have an Agordes that's just negated in half, which I don't really care about Agordes, to be honest with you.
Switch battle position of Fleur de Lis, and then I'll go into battle phase.
Now here's what made a bit of a misplay. At the start of Battle Phase, I should have activated my trap card because the minute Fleur de Lis declares an attack, it's gonna proc effect. So this is definitely my misplay, 100%. Like, this is absolutely my misplay. Had I did it on the start of Battle Phase, it would have been a lot better. So the card is, by the way, Ice Dragon Prison. And we already know our opponent has Ecclesia in Graveyard because Agordes sent it there. So I'm going to get rid of my opponent's Ecclesia. We're going to get rid of that Fleur de Lis. But once again, being the fact that Fleur de Lis did proc its effect to increase his attack, it's going to make Ecclesia 2k for no reason. Other than the fact that I just don't know how to say at the start of Battle Phase. So anyway, that was my mistake. Hopefully you guys can learn from that. And his Ecclesia is going to be able to go right through my Agordes, which is definitely going to be an issue. That was 100% my misplay on that.
Or wait, what's that? Sorry, I didn't see the blue card.
So opponent's going over and going, oh, wait a minute. And I mean, that's the thing with remote duels. Like, my opponent couldn't see, and this is locals too, but our opponent couldn't see the monster. Like, oh, no, this guy has this amount of attack here. You're definitely going to attack and do more damage. It's not that big of a deal. If it was IRL Yu-Gi-Oh, our opponent 1,000% would have just swung into it. Like, that's why, like, it's whatever for me. I don't really care as much. When people make those kind of small mistakes, especially on like remote duel locals. I think remote duel locals, for the most part, is a testing ground for players that want to, that want to play a more serious competitive game of Yu-Gi-Oh, but just want to test as well. Once again, so if someone makes a mistake, I don't really care as much. I really don't, unless it's a huge game-changing mistake. I don't care. Please go ahead, and I think that's really important for remote duel locals. And I hope going forward, a lot of players will have that kind of mentality. Some people play remote duel locals like it's a YCS. But others play, like I said, I play very casually when I play remote duel locals. I go, hey, man, listen, you go ahead and you made a mistake. I know IRL that is more than likely would not be this situation. It's cool, man. Let's fix the game state and let's go ahead, because what we're trying to do is get better as we are become better players. So anyway, I did a huge play here, and I activated Shaddoll Incarnation, a card which, once again, like I said, I used to really not like, but I really love. And I got that Beast back, which got me value. And we sent the Hedgehog, which is going to go ahead and let's add the Wendy to hand. I took out Shaddoll Hollow, and I put in a second Hedgehog. I really like the second Hedgehog a lot. It does come up a good amount of times. We still have one left in deck, which is a big deal. And the Hedgehog we got rid of added another card to our hand. So it just added more value for no reason other than the sake of adding value. So that's why I liked Hedgehog. Not that Shaddoll Hollow was a bad card, I think it was a situational card, and we can't really have situational cards and try to maintain a 40 card consistent deck. It just doesn't work that way, so unfortunately. Whereas Ice Dragon Prison is not really situational. It's just because our opponent having something that we pretty much expect they do have. Anyway, so opponent's gonna activate, and this was, I think, our opponent's big mistake, but I feel like they had to do this play. If not, they would have been in an even worse situation. So our opponent is gonna activate Ice Dragon Prison, and they're gonna banish our Winda, as well as our our Artemis. Now the problem with this situation is the fact that now we're gonna be able to break our opponent's board. We have a handful of 5. They have no cards, and all they have left is the extra monster on board that we purposely left on board so we can get value. Okay, and that's like the most important thing. I'm gonna keep yawning. Now, here's something I want to do as well. I go into App Cologne, I go Ariel and Wendy. The reason why, because this. I mean, realistically, the Wendy's icing the cake, but the Ariel and the App Cologne are just very important. App Cologne's gonna blank his monster effect out, so that's gonna stop him down. And then what we're gonna see, we're gonna see Ariel banish Ecclesia. So now we know we have 2 Ecclesias banished, leaving our opponent who's trying to play Dogmatika, trying to access that entire engine, but they have only 1 Ecclesia left in deck. So that's a big deal for us. And then we also get rid of like an Alma Rush in case our opponent top decks like, you know, they top deck an Alistair and they try to use any fire targets. We're just getting rid of it. I think we just had a Hedgehog. I couldn't see, to be honest. I'm gonna activate Invocation. Add Alistair back to my hand. Oh, that's another thing too that I like about Ariel that I think a lot of players forget about. You can use Ariel to banish an Alistair in your graveyard if you have an Invocation in your graveyard as well, which just gets you free value. 100% just gives you free value. So that's basically what we did. By the way, I already know people are going to be typing in the comments down below. How did our opponent go into Extract Monster when we had Wind on board? I'll be honest with you, I forgot. I'll be 100% honest with you. I honestly did forget. But you guys got to realize when watching these matches, we're playing in the locals, and even though we're trying to, like, you know, I'm trying to play casual, we're still trying to become, this is like a ground for learning, and we're definitely making mistakes, obviously, as you guys seen. Not only on this video, but on previous videos. And it's a lot easier to stand outside watching and go, you messed up here, you messed up here, you messed up here, than actually playing in the game. And I feel like that's something a lot of players forget about. If you guys watch me on Twitch TV, by the way, go ahead and check me out on Twitch TV, YGOPaisano, links will be down below. But one of the things you're going to see is the fact that, like, me and my opponent, whatever opponent is, or me and whatever, will make mistakes. The main thing is for us to learn from those mistakes. And this is why remote duel locals is so important. This is why I love playing in them, because I get to learn so many amazing rulings about my deck, as well as my opponent's deck. It's like that I might not ever play, but now I know the intricacies or what they want to do with that. So once again, like I said, I know the mistake right there. You might see others' mistakes in more matches in the future. I guarantee you, watching me on Twitch stream, you'll definitely see mistakes. I don't necessarily look at chat when I am playing in a match, and the reason why is because that's considered coaching, and as a player, I can get in a lot of trouble for being coached. It's against Konami TOS. OTS stores are very well aware of this. They every time to the OTS stores I have talked to, a good majority of those store owners are like, hey man, just want to give you a heads up. I don't want to catch you looking at chat. I can look at my time, and you'll see me look to the left, and I normally look at my time, and then I also look down a little bit if you notice, and that's because I'm making sure the stream is good so everybody can watch stream and enjoy the stream and see a crisp stream. But for the most part, I'm not looking at chat. I really try to avoid chat as much as possible, unless like everyone's freaking out and especially and it's spamming. I go, okay, what's happening there? You know, it's like you become the school principal during a fight. Like, what's going on? What are people going crazy for? But for the most part, I don't care about chat as far as being in a match because I'm too focused in the game. I want to give my 100% of my attention to my opponent. A little bit to make sure, the timer, obviously, and make sure the stream's good. There's no, like, problems with, like, latency or whatever, bitrate. But I mostly want to focus, and you'll see me make mistakes, and you'll see my opponent make mistakes. And once again, to me, it's not that big of a deal. The main thing for me personally is learning from those mistakes and becoming a better player, as well as, obviously, I would assume my opponent would ideally want to do as well. And that's basically the long and short of the situation. So people go, V, you may have said, so how did you never see that? It's like, dude, I guarantee you, if we all sat around and watched you play Yu-Gi-Oh! At the locals, in remote locals, we would see the same thing. Nobody plays this game perfectly. The main difference is learning from those mistakes. That's something I constantly, and guys, like I said, if you ever see me on stream, I constantly try doing, because I really feel like it's important as a competitive player to become a better player, to learn from those mistakes, or learn those little intricacies within rulings to make you a better player so you won't make those mistakes again. So there I do a quick 6-card shuffle. Sometimes I'll do a 6-card shuffle. Sometimes I'll take my deck and just side shuffle the crap out of it. Give it a couple of cuts, side shuffle. Give it a couple of cuts, side shuffle. And you'll see me do that on stream as well. To be honest with you, to me, there's no difference as long as there's a full, complete randomization within the deck. That's more than good enough. I really don't. I mean, it's really rare. Opponent will say, "Well, can you do a 6-card cut?" It's normally a 6-card cut is not what everyone used to do. It used to be the side shuffle and cut. You just spam those bad boys all day long. Maybe opponent wants us to do more of that. I'm okay with that. Either way, it doesn't really matter to me at the end of the day. As long as my deck is randomized, I'm very happy. So his opponent's already starting off with an Alistair, which is yeah. And this is great. So what I like about this game specifically, the reason I chose this match was our opponent's going to be able to do just about whatever they want to do opening. And we're going to have to break their board. We're going to be forced to break our opponent's board. And this is, and once again, people always ask me, V, why don't you throw Dogmatika in your Shaddoll deck? Because Dogmatika, I don't like playing Dogmatika. I feel like our variant of Dolls can break that variant. Opponent goes into a link immediately. We're just going to shotgun, we're just going to go ahead and shotgun the Phantasme when they bring out Almirage. We're just going to shotgun it, boom, right out the gate. Because they have it. And if they waste an Ash on it, we're okay with that. Because we haven't even started our turn. And the monster goes back to our hand. And we go always use the monster later on in case we want to use Show of Fusion or what have you. So I'm very okay if this card gets Ash. If it doesn't, we get the cycle. I'm happy no matter what. Anyway, so our opponent's going to be able to basically do whatever they want to do. And once again, I'm very okay with this. Because our deck is meant to go second. It's meant to break boards. And it's meant to set up a board that our opponent can easily break as well. Or we get value if they would attempt to break it. Something our opponent does that's relatively smart in this instance is with the Mecha Butt in defense mode. He's basically saying, hey, listen, your Lightning Storm is not going to do anything here. You have no power here, Lightning Storm. And he just played one card, and his one card turned into a Mecha Butt with an Almirage in Graveyard, which is a big deal. You know, that's one thing about Invoked. He's also going to go ahead, and by the way, he played it correctly. He went Alistair, he added Invocation. So I did have the Joel Lockbird. He basically plays around it. Being the fact that I didn't have a Joel Lockbird, after the Mecha hits board, now he's going to do Terraforming. And this is exact, and I don't play Terraforming anymore in the Shaddoll Invoked list, but this is exactly where you would want to play it. You'd want to summon Alistair first and bait, and then go Meltdown. Because there's no reason why not to go Meltdown first. It makes zero sense. You go Meltdown first, you get hit with it. If you don't go, you know what I'm saying? So it makes no sense. Anyway. So he's going to go Meltdown. He's going to add another Alistair in hand. So now we know he has 2 Alstairs in hand. Our opponent's going to activate Nadir Servant. And once again, they're doing whatever they want to do. They're going to go ahead and activate Nadir Servant. They're going to get that Ecclesia to their hand. So that's another card we know they have in our hand. App Cologne's going to get an effect. It's going to allow them to add a Schism to our hand. So now it's 4 cards they're adding. And in our head, all we are doing is just clocking everything. Boom, he's doing this. Boom, he's adding this. He's adding this. He's adding this. So in my head right now, the only thing I'm thinking about is what's in his hand. Because the more hand options we have, the more better we are prepared to attempt to break the board. And that's very important when you're playing Shaddoll Invoked. You want to figure out as much as possible what your opponent is playing or what they're attempting to play. So now we got rid of Alice. Now he has 3 in hand. He goes Ecclesia, goes back to 4 in hand. And this is something that's insanely important. I feel like a lot of players that do play Yu-Gi-Oh! In general, and I used to do the same thing, by the way. You're not, like, whatever. I used to be the same position where your opponent will add a bunch of cards on hand, and I would immediately forget it. I'll go, cool. In my brain, I'll go, who cares? Okay. So let me just say something locally. He has, we're going to go verify hand in a second, but he has Alistair. He has a Schism. One of those face downs is a Schism. So we don't know what the other one is, but we know Schism is one of those cards. He has an Alistair and Fleur-de-Lis in his hand. Even though he'd pitch an Alistair, he had 2. So he has Alistair and Fleur-de-Lis in hand. And I'm just going over all my options. He has 3 cards in hand. Just fan our hand up to show us. And I just verify it out loud. I'm saying it out loud, but if it helps you say it out loud, do it as well. He has 3 cards in the hand. We know he has Fleur-de-Lis. We know he has Alistair. So he has a mystery card in his hand. And we're just analyzing the current the situation. So since he has more monsters than us, we get to bring out Prankatops. And this is a card I took out and added back in, actually. Because I feel like Prankatops is so important. Now that 2100 defense Mecha that he's playing around Lightning Storm with, now we're okay with that. We're like, dude, 2100 defense Mecha Doesn't look so big in front of a Pankatops 26.
Yeah, I'll just send Meltdown.
Now he's gonna send Meltdown to negate the Prankatops and half the attack, and I'm just gonna verify basically if I could chain Prankatops because he sent a spell. And this is what I said earlier about locals and about mistakes. If this was IRL, he would not, majority not make this mistake. So I like I said, if you, and once again, this is something you'll see me do on stream. If it's not game changing, if it's not like, oh, this won't end the game or not end the game, I go, hey man, listen, go right ahead. It's no big deal. So he's gonna go ahead and blank both monsters out. He initially did it to half my Phantasma negate, and I was like, well, I could just change Prankatops because you had a spell. Then he's like, oh, I made a fix your mistake. It's no big deal. We all make mistakes. We're all learning here. It's locals, dude. Like what's the difference between winning and losing? A pack? Who cares? Like, the packs don't matter once you play in a bunch of remote locals like I have. I don't care about them at all. Like, I like them, don't get me wrong. I'll be excited to open packs. I'll have a fun time opening them. But for the most part, packs to me are almost at this point like, what's that? Chuck E. Cheese coins. There's just so many, who cares? Anyway, so opponent's going to activate Schism, and he's going to shotgun the Schism on the summon of our... He's gonna shotgun Schism at the summon of our Ariel, and this, I mean, our opponent's in a great spot. We know he has a monster negator, basically effect negator. Okay, we know he has that flow to the effect negator. We don't know the other cards, so now all we need to know now is he's down one card. But look at this, right? So we opened pretty good now because obviously we had the Prankatops to threaten our opponent. But even better, our opponent just gave us, and if you look at the board, if we have Super Poly, which we do, by the way, our opponent just gave us a free window. I mean, not window, a construct. I'm really bad at card names, by the way, so, like, it happens a lot. I don't know why I am. I just am. Okay, so, our opponent gave us a Dark Shaddoll monster and a Light monster. So we're going to go, oh, why thank you, sir. And we're going to go ahead and activate Super Polymization, which is going to help us break their board. And... initially, I was looking to do it anyway, but even more importantly now, the fact that they have a Winda and they have a Mecha Bomb board, so we're going to get rid of two problems. And I was thinking there for a second, because Ecclesia can't be destroyed monster from the extra deck, which is definitely an issue, but it is what it is. So on someone, he's gonna bring out Flow League, which is no big deal. Once again, who cares? Like, it really does not matter. So the way I see it right now in the game state is our opponent brought Flow League to get rid of our contract, which was the right play because obviously he wanted to save the Schism. He wanted to save the Schism because if that Schism's on board by next turn, he could just do Schism and we'll be in a really bad spot. So at this point, I'm thinking about going into a Verda Anaconda to help promote breaking his board. And that's what I'm debating on the whole entire time. I don't think it mattered either way, but... because I don't think it mattered as much, I should really say. But the way I'm thinking about it is, hey, listen, I could go Red Anaconda. We can go Shaddoll Fusion or Super Poly, which I think we go Super Poly. Okay, so we do Super Poly. And Anaconda copies the effect Super Poly. Another little fun fact, for anyone out there that's looking to play this deck, if you have a Anaconda and you copy the effect of Super Poly or any fusion, Shaddoll Fusion, it's not protected by Magical Meltdown due to the fact that it is considered a monster effect. So it's a very important ruling to understand. So now we're going to get our Construct effect. Not only are we going to get our Construct effect, we're going to get our Ariel effect, which is also doubly huge. Because if we can't get rid of Schism, we're going to get rid of our opponent's Shaddoll monsters in Grave to cut them off from that engine. The only way they're going to reconnect to that engine, the only way to get that engine back, excuse me, is by them utilizing Nidea Servant, if they can get it. So I'm just going over a couple of cards in our opponent's graveyard. I want to make sure we can cut them off as much as possible. Get rid of the Alistair, so we take them, we get rid of in case they open an Invocation top deck. And then I get rid of Mecha, just cause, you know, in case they're trying to go into something. I don't know, I have no idea. I just want to get rid of them. Oh, no, you get rid of the Mechaba, so they can't go into Ogoides. I mean, they can go into Ogoides, but they can't get the Ogoides pump. There we go. Okay. So I'm saying Schemata effect with Shaddoll Construct. And here's the thing. We're going to be able to clear the board. The question is, do we get rid of the Schism at this point? And I said to myself, we don't need to get rid of the Schism. The Schism is not a threat. The only way they can threaten me with a Schism is by go into their servant. If they go into their servant, it's not that big of a deal. So we have 3 cards in hand. So we got a lot of value right now. We went through our opponent's entire board. They have 1 in hand still, which we don't know still. I have zero idea what that card is in hand. We're gonna clear the monsters on board. And then we're gonna set 2 cards. Now here's the thing. I definitely made. I think in this game it was this one. I think where I made a little bit of a misplay. But we'll have to see. Meltdown's good cardboard. That's a good cardboard. Luckily, we got rid of their Alistair in case he did have Invocation in hand. I want to immediately respond to this Meltdown. Ideally immediately respond to this Meltdown. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna Twin Twisters. I'm gonna get rid of not only Meltdown but the Schism and pitch the Shaddoll Dragon. So we cut them off from both engines at the same time. Leave them 1 card in hand. Put them on Better Have It.
Activate Nadir Servant.
And they have it. That Nadir Servant's huge. Now here's the thing though. What do you send? Do you send the...
Construct.
Okay, so he's going to send Construct. He's going to try to get Schism back online, basically.
Search. Ecclesia. Then effect of construct to add Schism to hand. Yep. Then normal out Ecclesia.
One thing I want to note about this deck that's really important as well is the fact that if you make a mistake, it will cost you. Now, here's the thing I want to do. I activated, I don't know why I did this, by the way. I activated Ice Dragon Prison, and I'm going to get rid of his Ecclesia, but he's going to get to add anyway. We know he has Schism in hand, and what I should have done, the smart thing to do in my situation is, I should have waited till hit the opponent's turn when they went to go activate Schism, and then activate Ice Dragon Prison, and then grab their Construct, which is just a dumb play. Which I wound up not doing. I wound up just saying, hey, I'll get rid of your Ecclesia. He's going to get to add with Ecclesia, which is verifying the effect of unsummon effect with Ecclesia. So I believe he'll be able to add with Ecclesia. He has Schism. Our opponent is just, like I said, I just shotgun cards for no reason, and this is one of them. I get really excited when I play this deck, because I like this deck so much, and it's a really fun deck to play, so I get really excited when I play Shaddoll Invoked, and what I wind up doing is, I wind up shotgunning cards for 0 reason.
Not that matters. Alright.
You know, for 0 reason, and this is one of those things I did. Like, absolutely 0 reason. So I'm just verifying what we have in Graveyard, and I'm double checking, and one thing I immediately notice is, a big problem is, we don't have a Shaddoll Fusion in that Graveyard. If our opponent right now shotguns during standby or main phase a Dogmatika Punishment, we're put in a really bad spot. So I'm going to immediately activate Predator Inverted Anaconda. I'm going to send Shaddoll Fusion to the Graveyard. Because we have to immediately get rid of... when my contract goes away, which it would definitely go away, we have to get rid of this stuff. So what I'm going to do is... I'm going to go into a window. Now, here I make a huge misplay, and I don't think me and my opponent catch it. I fix it later on, luckily. But, Construct effect in Graveyard is going to let us add Shaddoll Fusion. So once again, our opponent has Dogmatika Punishment. Now it's useless against our window.
Hold on.
So they're just verifying everything. I'm going metal phase. My opponent is just verifying because once again, you're going to activate skills during the main phase. And this is one, and you'll, like I said, you'll see me make a misplay a bit. We'll fix it. Don't worry about it. But you'll see it happen again. But we're just verifying what our opponent's just verifying what he can do in the graveyard, what options he can have, and like I said, going to Anacondas, getting a second whack out of Anaconda is not bad, but it's also bad because you can't special summon anymore for the for the turn, which definitely hurts. So opponent's gonna be able to abuse that Schism again and go Construct fluidly. And the thing is about like Schism is I felt like if I had the opportunity to go Apcolon and blank Schism, I should have, but I didn't. And it's definitely haunting me. So opponent's gonna go into a Construct and I'm just going over my options. It's hard watching your misplays happen again, by the way. Like I said, we'll be able to fix all this in a second. Should we just fast forward this? Fast forward this. Yuck. So there we are, fixing everything again. Okay. I just hate watching my own misplays. It's like embarrassing to me. Okay. So we made a misplay. But we fixed it. Then our opponent went ahead and swung with the construct right into our window. Got rid of our window. So, by the way, in case anyone doesn't know how that works, window can't be destroyed by card effects. Construct tries to destroy by card effect. Being the fact that construct can't destroy window by card effect, construct just does damage to window. So window, just like if you're getting hit with a construct and you own a window, you're taking about 6. So that's the whole reality of that situation. So what I do right now is I go Shaddoll Fusion, and instead of banishing the Schism, I decided to get rid of the I decided to not banishing. I'm sorry. I decided to blank out the construct instead of the Schism by going Shaddoll Fusion, and this was done on purpose. So my monster, because now my app clone can be destroyed by battle, his construct, which I believe that's his second construct, is blanked out, which means our app clone ideally would stay on board longer. So opponent's gonna go punishment, app clone. Punishment to app clone, Entis pop face down, and we're just gonna get value. And this is another thing that just is huge for this deck. Now, our opponent played the majority of the game with Schism. Now we just added Schism to our hand, and I'm gonna send, I believe, what is it, Squamata? Yeah, I'm gonna send Squamata to the graveyard with app clone, and then we're gonna go ahead and just get our engine back online. And this is the kind of things you want to do. Like a lot of players run the Schism early, and I understand, like, running the Schism early is not that big of a deal. It's not bad. I'll be honest with you. I personally don't like running the Schism early, and the reason why is, unless I'm playing aggressive. If you're playing an aggressive game, then I think running Schism early is important. But for the most part, I really don't care about running into that card early. It doesn't do much for me. So what I want to do is I want to get his Alistair in graveyard. I want to get him down to as less cards as possible. We're in a grind right now. He knows I have a Schism, so I'm really going to be able to come back a bit and get some value. But realistically, I mean, we're just trying to access our Invoked Engine at this point. We went through a majority of our Shaddolls, and now we're just trying to go, okay, we need to get this Invoked Engine back online. That's basically what it comes down to. There's my Shekanaga. Okay, so the reason why I decided to bring up Shekanaga is because now we know his construct can't get over Shekanaga. He just cannot get over it whatsoever. He activated Dogmatika Punishment, so he can't access his extra deck. So the only thing he could really do, the only option we gave our opponent, was to have his construct swing into our Wendy. We literally told our opponent, here's the only option you can do without saying any words. And this is another thing we do. We force the opponent to make plays they don't necessarily want to make. The reason why also I wanted to go into Shekanaga early is because in case we do on the next turn top deck a Shaddoll card. Once again, we don't know what that face down is, so I'm just trying to figure out what are the options that are face down. What are the chances of that being like a Dogmatika Punishment or what have you? So, or maybe like an Ice Dragon's Prison. So our opponent was asking to see if I have my what we have in graveyard, and and I mean it's whatever. But like I said, IRL is when it be our opponent was go catch a graveyard. But normally anyone in this game state would know what our opponent's saying when they say, "Can I see a graveyard?" What they're really saying is, "Can I see you having machines in your graveyard?" Being the fact that your app clone is also a machine. So the opponent's gonna go ahead and activate Ice Dragon Prison. Now this is something I really did not fully understand. So opponent's gonna go ahead and take our window with Ice Dragon Prison.
Yeah, it's not gonna matter. Alright, and then normal summon, yeah, I'm not gonna banish anything. So then normal summon, draw. Okay. And then
So here's another cool thing about interaction, what I like about Shaddolls in general, and I like how opponent did this. What they decided to do was use Ice Dragon Prison, and a lot of people just think Ice Dragon Prison, I'll just take your monster, and we'll banish monsters, and there we go, we did value. But in this situation, our opponent went into a and this was a very smart move, and I'll explain why in a second. But our opponent went into a BLS, and because he had so many high-level monsters, he can now go and utilize that BLS to make it unaffected, which is really smart. Another cool thing is, being the fact that we brought an Aquilon early, if his BLS was to get through like one attack, and if you guys are wondering how do we out BLS, you're looking at it out on board. It's normally a Shaddoll Shakanaga. Like Shakanaga is our out. But if our opponent had another way to get rid of our Shakanaga and swing a BLS or whatever, all you need to do is make your BLS 45, and it's an uphill battle for Shaddolls to play around a 4500 BLS. That's like the answer. But by going into BLS in general, puts us in a really, really bad spot. We finally, after all these draws, I mean, we don't have much of a deck left, go into our Invoked Engine. And one Invoked Engine is going to get us an Alistair. Opponents have no cards in hand, unless they get proc a Schism, which I'm not sure they can. Our Alistair's going to go through. We're going to get Invocation. We got a graveyard full, and I mean full, of fusion monsters. So right now we're in the driver's seat. And here's another thing I do as well. I'm going to activate Invocation, and I'm going to bash our opponent's construct. The reason why is, one, in case they activate, they get their Invoked Engine online, we don't want them to use their Ogoides. Or try to get value from Ogoides. That's number one. Number two, we're going to go into our Ogoides, and our Ogoides is going to help us get over the our opponent's monster, which is important. Once again, we can't activate Ogoides to blow up their BLS because it targets and BLS is unaffected. Nevertheless, we're just gonna get some damage in. So here's what I swung with a Goids, and I still kept the Shakanaga in defense mode because it just can't attack directly. So why would I put that in attack mode if Shakanaga can't attack directly? It really doesn't mean anything, to be honest. Now here's the worry. Does our opponent have access to their Invoked Engine? Can they get their Invoked Engine online as easy as we got ours? The cool thing about our opponent activating the Deer Servant is the fact that, like, our app clone's not going anywhere. They got Titan. They activated the Deer Servant. They got Titan class, so they're trying to get some value at the end turn. But we've outgrinded them so badly that our opponent can't activate the Deer Servant. They just can't. And that's how crazy, like, and it's whatever, but, like, that's how good Shaddoll Invoked is. Like both our decks, both our decks are meant to do this. Like, both our decks are doing exactly what they're meant to do. The difference is I feel like our deck is more consistent on our grinding because we don't put limitations on ourselves by only activating Schism to bring out monsters. Which, once again, I felt like if we stopped Schism early on in the game state, we would have won. Like, if all I had to do was Apclone that Schism, and we would have won already. But I didn't, and that was definitely a big mistake on my part. But ultimately, like we're just gonna go ahead and just end the game right here, and there's right there. So a couple of things I want to go over real quick for a lot of people that's watching this video, and it's really important for you guys to understand. Number one, if you play against Shaddoll Dogmatika Invoked, the number one thing you can do, you'd ideally want to do, is blank out your opponent's Schism. You don't want to send it to the graveyard. If you can banish it, cool. But if you can't banish it, or if there's a risk of you not banishing it, all you gotta do is go App Cologne, blank a Schism. You just shut down their entire Shaddoll engine with one card, which is amazing. Which I think is something that a lot of players need to do. That's number one. Number two, not only can we outgrind this matchup, the only thing you need to play around is the landmine that is Dogmatika Punishment. If we can play around Dogmatika Punishment well, we can just walk right through this matchup. Another cool thing is, once again, if your opponent activates Dogmatika Punishment, targeting whatever monster, you go, cool. I'm not sure if they have to send for cost or whatnot, but if we have Alistair in hand, we could pump the fusion monster they target, and they don't get value. I don't think, actually, no, they don't send for cost, actually. So if we have, like, let's say, a Mecha Butt in our hand, and our opponent goes, I'm gonna activate Punishment. If you can send Alistair and make Mecha Butt 35, our opponent has to send a 3500 attack monster or less from the extracted graveyard. Most opponents do not have that availability. So that puts us at an insanely good position. Whereas in other cases, they'll go like, oh, I'll go get your Mecha Butt, and I'll activate Punishment, and I'll send the guy that pops the guy, and now I get 2 cards for 1 card, and I take away 2 cards from you that you ideally had to spend multiple cards to get. So that's another thing that's really important. I want you guys to know. And of course, whenever you do locals, like some people play this like a YCS, and some people play it like a way to learn. Locals for me, and I think it's really important for a lot of players, is a learning tool. You're gonna make mistakes. The only thing that's important is, and people will like yell at you and complain and bust your chops about it. The only thing I care about, and the only thing I think everyone should care about, is learning from those mistakes. It's very important. It's very, 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 very important. If there's anything from watching this channel, from this video, whatever, that you can learn, as long as you learn from your misplays, you will become a better player. And I think it's very important in general, and I think a lot of players need to start just focusing in on that. When you play remote duels, obviously you're going to make mistakes. People are going to watch you. People are going to yell and scream and flip out. You just got to focus on the game. And if you can see it, great, fix the game. Agreed, game state is a thing, but fixing a game state to make it so that would never even happen to begin with is also a thing. If you can repair a game state and catch it and repair that game state, it's just better in general. Like, I'd rather lose with a repaired game state than win with the irreparable one that we could have fixed. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, this is how once again, this is Shaddoll Invoked versus Shaddoll Invoked Dogmatika. I know a lot of people keep asking me to put Dogmatika in my deck. I'm never gonna put it in my deck. I think we can easily win without it. You go watch on my YouTube channel, on my Twitch channel, and you can see us easy just playing right through a lot. It's really rare we actually will lose this matchup. The only times I think we do lose this matchup is we don't have enough resources. The minute we lose resource, can we get it back? Yes. Is it easy to get back? No. But it's vice versa for our opponent as well. And as long as you maintain resources against this deck, it's impossible for them to win. It's 100% impossible. Anyway, guys, I really appreciate you guys watching my videos. Please make sure to hit the subscribe button if you're subscribed already. Hit the like button. Comment down below. I will have a new deck coming out soon, I promise you. We will do a new series with a new deck for a lot of players that really get upset because I don't do that. I will do that. It's just, I have to power myself down. Okay, I won't go Super Saiyan Blue. I'll go KO Ken times 1 to make everybody happy, and we'll find a new deck. And there's a bunch of decks I'm looking at actually right now, so we'll have that coming up hopefully in the near future, guys. Once again, thank you so much for watching. And you Paisanos, you Paisanos have a great day.